Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. This is a Raid Shadow Legends video. Guys, I guess we're in this kind of like calm before the storm type of moment, or that's what it feels like anyway. But I do want to bring up something that was in the Raid Digest last week, which might like signal more nerfs coming to Champions, which I guess a lot of people are on the fence about. So I'm just going to kind of give it my view, what's going on, what I think might happen, what I think probably should happen. I guess before we get into the storm, and I guess let's just give you a bit of a feeling of what's going on there. We've got to be close to this big patch. Okay, we've got to be close to this patch where they're like, we're dropping content this year, which is going to be better than Doom Tower. Okay, and they must be seeing like numbers dropping. I'm seeing numbers dropping on like views for videos and stuff like that. Doesn't help that I've been away, obviously. But yeah, generally it feels like there's a bit of a lull in Raid. Two big games have come into Raid, which are both done well. I mean, into like the space. So, you know, Dragonair and Watchers both doing well, both kind of up there in terms of the charts and stuff like that. So obviously that's going to be eating away at some of the players that are a mainstay for Raid. So I'd like to thank Vikingard for sponsoring this video. Vikingard is a Viking and Nordic mythology themed RPG game. It's got a really cool kind of strategic side to it as well. Vikingard specifically like built around being a casual game. So, you know, if you're tired from those kind of like heavy hours and hours grinding in other games, then Vikingard's a really cool one to pick up and play. You're going to be developing your Viking tribe, recruiting heroes, and building a powerful fleet to be able to go and explore the 9 realms of mythology and collect the lost artifacts, strengthening your team, strengthening your player power, and then taking down some legendary monsters like dragons, krakens, fenrirs, and more. You're going to need to build strong alliances with other players. You're going to be fighting for glory in the weekly alliance clash. And now's a really cool time to get involved. So Vikingard have just done a big Halloween event, but they're also getting ready for the next like Thanksgiving and Christmas events as well, where there's going to be a bunch of rich activities to get involved in. Now's a really cool time to get involved in Vikingard. During the Halloween event, they actually launched vampires for the first time, so you're able to acquire some vampire lords. And if your thing is the kind of more casual play style, you can farm, mine, and feed pets and discover some other fun stories and stuff in the game as well. So you can download now for free using my link down below in the pinned comment. You'll be able to play the game on iOS or Android from any of your favorite stores. Thank you again, Vikingard, for sponsoring the video. And yeah, let's get back to the video. So I'll go through the digest here very quickly. Just most of it's nothing, honestly. I wasn't even going to do a video, but there is a part of it which is potentially going to be, I don't know, pissing people off or making people happy. Could be either way. They basically go through and they say like, look, we're coming towards the end of Spooktober. So that's happened. Obviously, all of their different events that they did, which you'd question whether there was many events. Like, if you're being honest, like, did they really bring any events for the kind of, you know, Halloween stuff, or was it just Shardpool stuff? Like, it was weak. It was weak, but it is what it is. I'd also saying that Timid the Fall Fusion coming towards an end. So there's literally just the last few events coming this week. So I guess next week we find out what the next fusion is going to be, if they follow the same like normal time frames. But if you did pick up Timid and Kaja at the same time, you get yourself some extra rewards, and you'll get yourself, what's it like, some multi-battles, a legendary tome, 5-star chicken, etc. So make sure you pick them up in time. Obviously, you're going to do that anyway, but you might be like holding on to Kaja the Rye. You need to have picked Kaja the Rye up by the 12th of November, so basically a week from now. Not just have the fragments sitting in the bank. So bear that in mind. I guess have we got Clan v Clan tomorrow? Yeah. So most people might be holding off for that for tomorrow. I'll get into CVC first. The CVC, upcoming Clan v Clan, will have personal rewards. So again, if you're holding on to points from Kaja and Timid, that's like 60k points in the bank for everybody who's done that. There's going to be a lot towards personal rewards if you're going to do that. So some clans are going to have like an absolute boost of points over the next event. And there's also now this ability to basically set a minimum number of points for you to get rewards from your clan leader. That's actually not in tomorrow's one. That's going to be starting from the next patch. So I guess bear that in mind as well. They've called this out here a couple of times. Raid will no longer be available on Facebook cloud gaming platform from 2024. So I don't know, honestly, what that means. I don't think that's just like, have you linked up to Facebook? I think there might be an app, a thing that you could have downloaded it from in Facebook, maybe. I'm not sure, honestly. But if that's you, just bear it in mind that they're cutting that off for whatever reason. So anyway, let's get to the bit of what I was talking about at the start here. So it's around Hydra. So we've had the cadaver nerf, right? Cadaver nerf, I think it was done quite poorly. They needed to nerf something with cadaver, but I feel like we're just going to keep running into the same issue, right? So let's go through it in full here. So taunt buff versus Hydra. Some players wonder if it's normal that the taunt buff prevents Hydra from devouring champions. Yes, it is a viable strategy. When a champion in the player's team is under taunt, Hydra cannot target anyone apart from the taunting champion. If that champion under taunt doesn't have a devouring mark, then the devouring won't happen until the buff is gone. That's literally, that is new news, right? That is actually huge news in terms of trying to manage your champions being eaten. So when taunt came out, we thought that it might be a great buff for Hydra, trying to control the head of mischief, but it didn't really work that way because the head of mischief will always target a certain champion with more buffs, right? So it didn't happen. But this is actually a huge mechanic for Hydra, which I wasn't aware about, and I think most people were not aware about. So yeah, definitely taunt has just gone up the ranks in terms of a viable Hydra buff if you can keep it up. So that's an interesting one. But the second point here is really what I was talking about for this video. So on a side note, we keep monitoring individual champions' performance on Hydra to make sure there is no single champion who grants too much of an advantage. So obviously, like, Hydra Clash was their big event thing, or the biggest thing of recent times. And what they're monitoring is whether one champion is kind of like doing all of the work for Hydra Clash and basically allowing clans to win. And, you know, originally it was Cadaver. Cadaver was kind of busted, and they straight just nerfed Cadaver. Instead of like maxing the amount of damage any one hit can do, they've nerfed the champion skill. We've then got, obviously, the next thing is Trunda coming up as, doing obscene damage, right? So Trunda is in the mix. There's also, I'm sure I've seen Madman. I think it's Madman. Let's see if we can find any people using my clan. I know I've seen Scratch doing videos on this, so it doesn't look like anyone in my clan is doing it. But there is another champion that has got this same weird... Honestly, it's probably a bug, right? It's this weird kind of bug which has been around forever. Yeah, it's been around literally forever. That's not my clan anyway, but can't see anyone use it in this kind of like fight that I'm in the mix of right now. But it's very similar to what happens with Trunda. And the trouble we've got here is a couple of things, right? So Trunda has been bugged forever. Like, literally, I remember doing a video when she was queen of the game saying, look, should this be changed? And we're talking about at least 2 years ago. People were pissy about it because they were like, you shouldn't nerf, you should buff. But I wasn't like, I feel like Trunda should be nerfed. I was like, I feel like her bug should be fixed. Okay, they never did it. They just left it in the game. And eventually they just power crept her out of the arena anyway. So it didn't really become such a big deal. So I guess there's a number of questions, right? Should this double Yumiko interaction be allowed? Is that something that should be fixed? Is that like first on the hit list of fixing? Because double Yumiko resetting herself in particular is something which is pretty broken in this game, right? Kaimar cannot reset himself, right? And other champions like that don't reset Kaimar. Whereas Yumiko straight up just comes in and is able to reduce the cooldown of her own skills or other versions of her skills, which means that we get to this weird mechanic where basically Yumikos are chain reducing the cooldowns of skills, which means that basically everyone in your team is getting all of their skills back all the time. That was part of the problem, honestly, with the Cadaver bug or change or whatever, is that everybody was doing their skills so often that it went out of control. And Yumiko was actually a fundamental part of that issue. So should this be changed is one question. Is this what they're talking about when they say they're monitoring individuals' champion performance? Don't know. We've not been told any more. But this is definitely something to watch out for, because she could be on the list. But then you've got this whole bunch of champions, and it's not just Trunda. There's a whole bunch of champions which have got this weird mechanic where they hit someone and then they get another hit if something happens, right? So for Trunda, she attacks an enemy, then attacks all other enemies with a second hit. And the way it reads is that the next hit should do less damage. Yeah, so with a second hit, dealing 60% of the damage inflicted. Saf's done a video, I think, around the whole math of this, right? But ultimately, as a non-kind of like maths genius, I read that and I think, let's say I did 100k with my first hit. My second hit on everyone else should therefore just be 60% of the 100k, 60k. Would still be a great steal, right? But what it actually does is it then uses all of the multipliers again. So the multipliers through books, the multipliers through your crit damage, and it actually doesn't just do 60% of the original hit. It does 60% with all of the extra multipliers rolling in, which means that the extra hit becomes an absolute cannon. And in my opinion, that's always been a bit of a bugged skill. So anyway, look, I guess she's got to be in the mix of people that they're looking at. But I actually don't think she is going to be the one that really gets chopped up. Yeah, because the new problem, I guess, for Raid, that I don't know who found it out, but I know that Scratch has done a bunch of videos on this. So Madman is coming in doing colossal damage. Okay, and is it this first skill here? Attacks one enemy, 50% chance of attacking all other enemies with a second hit. Dealing 30, yeah, it must be this skill. Dealing 30% of the damage inflicted with the first hit. So a 50-50 versus Trunda's 100% chance is going to happen. It's the same mechanic, right? It's the same mechanic which is doing colossal damage because of this kind of like weird interaction with this type of multiplier. Okay, now, I actually wonder if they fix the actual problem, if they actually fix what can only be called a bug in the game, right? And I'm not saying I want them to be nerfed, by the way. I'm just saying if they do fix that, I worry for other champions in the game, because you've got other people that are doing weird stuff, like Baron, for example. Baron's A1 attacks an enemy, will attack all enemies remaining with any surplus damage if the target is killed. Well, that does insane damage for the same reason, okay? Because the extra hits multiply up. There's a whole bunch of them. Like, there's a whole bunch of champions that interact in this weird way. I'm pretty sure that Galcut's, which one is it? This one. I'm pretty sure that Galcut's A2 is the same. It absolutely smacks, but the extra hits do insane damage, and I think it's because they also get the extra multipliers. So I don't know, guys. Like, are they just going to go in and pinpoint one champion, or are they going to try and fix fundamentally like things which are broken in the game? Draco they fixed, and they've done this with a couple of champions now. They fixed Draco doing obscene damage in the same way by saying his surplus damage cannot be a crit. That didn't used to be there. And this A1 used to kill someone and then absolutely nuke someone. Yeah, it used to be a way to get like a one-shot on the Ice Golem, for example, at a high level. They stopped this being a crit, which means that you don't get all of the extra crit multipliers. And it still hits hard, but it doesn't hit anything like what it used to. So this could be what they do to any champion that's got this kind of like weird mechanic. So look, as I say, we're in a bit of a calm before the storm. It feels like a nerf is likely to come. Did they say this week? Didn't say this week. They just said that they're monitoring it, right? So it feels like some form of nerf or some sort of change is going to come. But I also feel like we're very close. If it's not this week, then maybe it's next. But I feel like patch has got to be coming soon. When are we getting like the next kind of big what's next in Raid video? Like, there's a lot of people at the moment that are going through the motions. We've had 3 average fusions back to back, which means that the level of engagement in the game goes down. We haven't really had a big patch for a while that's been well received, at least. You know, the last content drop I think that we got was Phantom's Grove, and not many people even do it. So they're needing a bit of a Hail Mary right now. And I'm kind of curious as to what it's going to be. If they bring out a load of nerfs before the Hail Mary, then they're going to piss off people again. So, like, oh, it's a tough spot. Anyway, let me know what you think down below. I've been Hell Hades. I'll see you soon.